Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And today I'm going to do a tutorial for Airbus A320 by Flybywire. It is a video for the beginners. So if you're at the beginners stage, this is a good video for you, in which you will learn the basics of flying and plus flight planning, takeoff, taxi, checklist, starting the plane from the cold and dark state, descent management, and then ILS approach and landing. So therefore, if you are at a certain level of flight simulation or you know how to fly, I think this is not the right video for you. But still, if you want to stick around, most welcome. Thank you very much. And if you have any suggestions, do let me know in the comment section. So I will start this video by telling you how to download this plane and install it into Microsoft Flight Simulator. And from there, I will carry on with the tutorial, and we'll just cover all the basics and everything. So just stick around, and there's so much to come. So first of all, I will tell you how to download and install this plane. Go to flybywiresim.com. As you can see it on your screen, this is a site of flybywiresim.com. I've also given the link to this website in the description, so you can just follow that link and you can download this plane. What you have to do is this, that you have to go to this website and you have to download the installer. You can download it from here, or you can download it from here. You can see this is the installer, and once you install the installer, you will have options of different planes, which you can just simply install into your directory in which the planes are installed from Microsoft Flight Simulator, and from there you can access this plane and you can fly it. Okay, so once you've downloaded and installed this what you call the installer, I will tell you how to install the plane. So now here is the installer, and it is already installed in my system, and the plane is updated. But it's a very simple process. So once this installer is installed, you open it, you will see Airbus A320 Neo or A32NX. It says installed. For you, it will say not installed. You simply have to select this option, and then plus you will see an option to install the plane from here. You can just check it. Before downloading and installing the plane, just make sure the directory is properly selected. Just go to settings and install directory. As my Microsoft Flight Simulator is a Steam version, and plus it is stored in my D drive in the program files. So there is a folder that's common, in which there is a community folder in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this plane will be installed over here. So just make sure the directory is properly selected. And I don't think so you have to change it. It picks up automatically. For me, it just picked it up automatically. So nothing to worry about. Once installed, you will just be able to use it in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just after installing the plane, restart the Microsoft Flight Simulator, because while this installer is running, you cannot install the plane if the Microsoft Flight Simulator is up and running. So you have to shut it down. And every time when you are planning to fly it, just make sure the update is there. A few days back, there was an update for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and especially the flight planning part of this plane was not properly functioning. And due to this reason, I just gave a break for 1 week, because I wanted to do this video 1 week before, but there was an issue, so that's why I just stayed back. But now I just few days back I checked the update, and there was an update which I installed, and now everything is up and running. So every time when you use this plane, you make sure the update is there, and you have the latest version of Airbus A320 Neo from flybywiresim.com. So once the plane is installed, you can select it from your plane directory in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. As you can see, it is coming as Flybywire Simulations A320 Neo Leap. Okay, cruise speed is 455 knots, maximum altitude 39,800 feet, endurance 7 hours, range is 3,500 nautical miles. So if you have a flight of 3,500 nautical miles or less than that, you can use this plane. Otherwise, you have to use 747 or 787 for longer flights. Okay. Today I'm going to do this flight from Karachi. And this is my favorite route. I always do this video. I love flying from Karachi to Dubai. Although I want to do it from Islamabad to Dubai, but it's going to be a 3 or 4 hours of flight time. But this is a short flight of 2 hours. So it takes around about 2 hours, 15 minutes to 16 minutes. So in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, I will select OPKC. It is already selected. Otherwise, you can just type it in here, OPKC, and you can pick up the airport. Before I move further, I will select the timings. I will use a preset time, and I will use a morning time. Let's pick up early morning. That's good. I love to fly early morning. So let's keep the time at 6:30. Great. 6:31, it's okay. So this is how you select. You have to, in multiplayer, all players, air traffic, go to AI. If I select AI, oh yes, live traffic I can select. And then I can use a preset time, and plus you can also select the custom weather. Otherwise, the weather is live right now, and the time I have set it myself. Otherwise, I always fly according to the live time. But for this video, I'm using the daylight so that we can see everything. Okay, so that's it. And plus, my flight will not start from runway 25L. Rather, it will start from the gate, because I want to start the plane from the cold and dark state, and from there we will move on to the runway. We will be getting the clearance and everything. But in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can make a flight plan. There is a video on my channel in which I have given you a complete walkthrough of the flight planning in Microsoft Flight Simulator using this interface. Anyhow, but for this video, as I will be bringing in the flight plan from the SimBrief, and I will be manually entering the flight plan, or rather uploading it from SimBrief. So I will not be using Microsoft Flight Simulator capability of flight planning, although there are videos on my channel, but still, that's it. So in this tutorial, I would like to interact with the MCDU and tell you how to program the MCDU and enter the flight plan into it. So let's start the flight from gate 49. Okay, so everything is set now. Early morning flight from Karachi. I have not selected the arrival airport. This is what I will be selecting during the flight planning, and I will start at gate 49 with my Airbus A320 by Flybywire. So let's go and fly this plane. Okay, so here we are at the Karachi airport, OPKC. That is the echo code for the Karachi airport, Jinnah International Airport. And this is our Airbus A320 Neo, which I will be flying to Dubai today. And let's go and fly this plane. So right now you can see the plane is parked at the gate, and this plane is in the cold and the dark state. Everything is turned off. So let's start the procedure. Before I proceed further, first of all, I will close this AI radio communication ATC. I will just turn it off, because I don't want the AI to automatically interact with the ATC, because obviously, as this is a tutorial, so I will be taking you through different steps, and if it is on, the ATC will automatically give us the clearance, and the AI will go for the pushback and everything. So I just want to avoid that, and want to take things into my own hands. The matter into my own hands. So first of all, I will turn this thing off, and then if you check this option, you will see a checklist. It's a very long checklist, and you can go through all the procedures. But what I've done is this, that for this tutorial, I have just tried to make a very nice and clean short checklist, because there are many other things in this checklist which you can just check. So if you're doing it on your own, you can just go through all the checklist, and there are other videos of Airbus A320 in the Microsoft Flight Simulator in which I've shown you how to go through the checklist. But right now for this tutorial, I've prepared my own checklist, and I will not be jumping to this one, because then it creates a lot of confusion, too much back and forth. So I will just stay over here without opening the checklist, and I will just go through all the procedures and everything. That will be easy for you, and still, if you have got any questions, you can always ask me in the comment section. So first of all, this is the overhead panel, and over here you will see two options: turn on battery master 1 and master 2. We have to turn on the batteries because everything is right now turned off, and we cannot even interact with the ATC, as you can see. So the electrical systems are all off. So first of all, I will turn on battery 1 and battery 2. Okay, now at least the electrical systems are working, and you can see that we can now communicate with the ATC. The radio is on. You can see the radio frequency is also here. The best thing about this plane by Flybywire is this tab. It's not there in the Airbus A320, the default plane, which is in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. It doesn't have this tab, but this version has a tab. So we can interact with this tab, and I will just take you through all the procedures and everything. Okay. Then the tab is on, and now what I have to do is this. I have to call in for the ground power. Just to tell you the basics, the plane starts on the batteries, then it goes on to the external power, which is the GPU, ground power unit. The ground power unit comes and powers up the plane till the time everything is done over here in the parking, and it's time for the pushback. Once the pushback will start, we will move on to APU. That is the auxiliary power unit. This is a generator in the plane which gives power to the plane till the time engines are on. And once the engines are on, then we will cut off the APU, and then the power will be given to the plane by the engines. So three procedures: first ground power unit, then APU, and then the engines. So three things you have to keep in your mind. So before I connect to the external power, right now you can see that it is right now, if you look at this upper panel, it says available. So right now it is available. But the best thing in this version is you can call in for the ground service, and you can just see that external power is here. You can just call in for the external power. And interestingly, if you go here and if you go to the ground service, you can also tune into the ground service, and from here you can also call for the power supply. If I go out, I think we should see the GPU being connected. Is it? Yes, you can see. So this is the GPU, which is right now giving power to the plane. So let's get back and let's turn on the external power. So right now, once I have turned on the external power, everything is up. Now, display, you can see this is the PFD, the primary flight display, and this is the ND, which is the navigation display. And for the PFD, you can increase the brightness so that you can see in the morning. This is the ECAM, which is the display for all the controls and on all the systems of the plane. You can increase the brightness of the ECAM from here. Okay, and for the co-pilot also, you can increase the brightness from here. Okay. If you're flying in the night, you can also increase the lighting of this this panel. But right now it's daytime because so that you cannot see it. But in the night it looks really good. And for the overhead panel, you can also increase the brightness and decrease the brightness. You can see now the lights are on. And plus from here you can increase the panel brightness. You can see it's increasing, and plus for this display also you can increase it. It looks nice in the night, but anyhow we are flying in the morning, so that's why it's not that good, but still that's it. So once you have increased the brightness and everything, and before I proceed further, I will now be turning on the ADIRS. I will be setting it to nav so that the plane's GPS is working and the plane knows the coordinates from the GPS. But before proceeding further, I will tell you one trick. Go to settings and go to this option, sim option. Okay. In the sim option, you can see that ADIRS align time and DMC self time. I've set it to fast. Real and instant. You have three options. If you set it to real, right now what will happen is this, that once you will turn on your ADIRS and you will set it to nav, it will take 6 to 7 minutes for the navigation display to show the navigation and everything. Right now you can see there's nothing coming up because the plane's GPS is off, not the GPRS. The GPS is off and there are no coordinates, so that's why you cannot see anything in the ND display, the navigation display. ND display, it's not an ND display, it's navigation display or ND. Okay, anyhow, sorry for that. Okay, so I've set it fast. What happens when you select this option is this, that you can once you turn on the nav, it will just take 1 minute, and if you set it to real time it will take some time, and plus instant, the moment you will turn it on, you will see something coming up over here. Right now I've set it to fast, which is good. Now let's turn on the ADIRS nav. So the moment you will set it to nav. The moment you will do this, you will see this message over here. Iris aligned in 2 minutes. So it will roughly take 2 minutes to align and to show something on the navigation display, the plane and the path and everything. Okay. So it will take some time. Anyhow, now the plane is up and running, the air conditioning is running, everything is done. Turn off no smoke prompt light, it's on. So no smoking sign is on. Okay, anyhow, I will just try to keep this thing short, this tutorial. Okay, now once this option is done, then from here you can go to the ATC for the clearance, and you can try to get the clearance, because right now after all this startup procedure, the initial startup procedure, I would like to enter the flight plan, because we have not made the flight plan earlier in the initial page of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So for this, I need to know the runway from where I will be taking off. I can set the runway myself, but now here you can see that now the navigation display is up and running as the IRS alignment is done, and plus the PFD is also on. So that's it. So if it takes some time, you can change it from here in the settings. Okay. So as for the flight planning, I should know the runway. So that's why I will go to the clearance, and I will ask for the departure. As I will be heading towards Dubai, so this is west of Pakistan, so I will request for depart to west.
Karachi ground, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 with Sierra request taxi for takeoff west departure.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, Karachi ground airport is currently IFR. Request denied.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's do it one more time.
Karachi ground, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 with Sierra request taxi for takeoff departure to the west.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, Karachi ground airport is currently IFR. Request denied.
Okay, no issues. No issues. What I'll do is this. I will select the runway myself, and then from here we can select the option, and if the tower gives us a different runway afterwards, we can change it. So from here I will move on to SimBrief, because I will be loading the flight plan into the MCDU from the SimBrief. So let's go to SimBrief. So here I am in SimBrief. Okay. If you are new to this website, it's very simple. You have to simply make your login, and once you're logged into the system, you can make a flight plan, and then from there you can load it into the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So the flight will be from OPKC, that's Karachi Jinnah International Airport, and I will be landing at OMDB, that is Dubai. Okay. And we have an alternate airport, which is OMA, I think it's Abu Dhabi. Date is 26th of November, and everything is good. Now select the airframe, and it's A320 Neo. Okay. And the departure runway, right now I can select 25 left. I will be flying from 25 left. And arrival runway, Let's keep it 12 right. It's a nice approach. It comes directly from the sea. If you are coming if landing and coming to Dubai and landing at runway 30 left or 30 right, the approach is from the desert. And if you are coming for 12 left or 12 right, it's from the seaside. So I prefer to land on 12 right and 12 left. So for today, I've selected 12 left. Okay, so once you have selected these two runways, and then select the passengers, I will go with the full passengers. Here it is, and 0 fuel weight. It's automatically selected by the SimBrief. Okay, and the cargo, not carrying the cargo, so it's all right. Now you can see that a flight plan is already there. This is the flight plan. And just to check the authenticity of the flight plan, you can just go to the map below and you can check the takeoff and the landing. So that's it. We'll be just coming in from here, and then this is the approach, and then the final landing. You can also select different options from here, like different what you can say flight plans. So initially the flight plan that was selected, you could see that this was not the right one. It didn't have a proper what you can say departure procedure. In the flight planning, there are two things. Remember, it's a SID and a STAR. SID is a standard instrument departure, and STAR is standard arrival for the instrument, for the flight plan. So your flight plan should have proper SID and STAR for the departure and for the arrival. Right now, you can see that for the departure, the procedure is not normal. It's just a dot over here and a straight line going on to a certain waypoint in the flight plan. All these dots are the waypoints, and these black lines, which you can say is the airway. You can see over here all the waypoints are in alphabets. Lakiv, Derto, Wuset, these are all waypoints. And if you see anything alphanumeric, like this, A454, B540, P574, it's an airway. So airway is this black line, the airway which the plane takes to go from one point to another, from one waypoint to another. So from Melbourne to Pasov, this airway is A454. So that's the basic. So right now, if I've selected this flight plan, you can see that it's not good, as the departure is not coming properly. It doesn't happen like this, that plane just straight away flies out of the runway. There is a proper departure procedure. If I select this option, you can see then there is a proper departure procedure over here in SimBrief. Melbourne, let's select this one, and let's see. Okay, so you can now see that where is Melbourne? Yeah, you can see that there is now a proper departure procedure. Okay, so you can use this one. As I've been flying a lot and making lots of flight plans, I know the plane while flying from Karachi to Dubai goes to Melbourne, and then goes to Imped. That's the last one. This is the SID and this is the STAR. MLO1F, and the last and the first points are the SID and the STAR. These are the waypoints, all the waypoints, and this is the airway. It's very simple. So now we have a flight plan. So we started off with entering the arrival and the departure airport, OPKC and OMDB. Airframe, select that. Runways, capacity of the passengers, and then select a flight plan. That's it. So we have a flight plan, and let's go and generate this flight plan. Here you go. So now the flight plan is up, and the fuel is coming, is 7,434 kilograms, and the cruise altitude is set to 360, flight level 360, which is 36,000 feet. 26th November. That's it. These are the basics that you need to know. Now let's go back over here in the cockpit and do one thing. Go over here in this option and get the flight information from the SimBrief. Now you can see that it's updated. And OPKC to OMDB. Alternate is coming. Zero fuel weight is given. Average wind. CI cost index is 42 right now set. I'll tell you later what the cost index is, and the cruise altitude is flight level 360. That's 360, that is 36,000 feet. Okay, so now everything is done. What I'll do is this: while I'm programming the MCDU, this is the MCDU, multifunction flight control display unit. I will call in for the ground services, and I will go here, and I will call for the baggage.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send the baggage?
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, baggage is on the way.
I can call in for the catering.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send the catering truck?
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, the catering truck is on the road.
And I can also call for the jetway.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
You can see now the jetway is getting connected.
X-ray 320, the jetway is going to be connected.
So you can see this cabin is open for the catering. This is for the cargo, and this is for the cabin. So in the ECAM, the lower ECAM, you can see all the doors are open. If I just go out of the cockpit, you can see baggage service is coming, the jetway is connected, and the catering is coming. Okay. Now I will just to tell you that you can also call in for the ground services from the tab, for the passengers, for the forward door, for the baggage, and for the fuel. Okay, you can also do it from here. I will be calling in for the pushback from here. But anyhow, I just use the ATC. So now go on to the MCDU, and first of all, I will tell you how to link your MCDU to your SimBrief, because if you're using it for the first time, obviously your MCDU is not linked to SimBrief, so you have to do that. Click this option, MCDU menu, okay, and then select options, go to AOC, go to SimBrief, and over here you have to enter your username. And as you can see that my username or the pilot ID is there for the SimBrief. As you have seen it on your screen, don't try to use it, otherwise you will be using my flight plans. But anyhow, you can enter your username, and once you enter it, is always there in the system. You do not have to enter every time, so it's just a one-time thing. So once you enter that, you connect it to the SimBrief. Then you can just pick up the information from SimBrief, and from there everything is done. Now what I'll do is this: I'll go to MCDU menu, and first of all I will click ATSU. I'll go to AOC, and I will try to get the weather report. You can see this WX request, so you can just click this weather request, type in your departure and arrival airport, that's OPKC. Click this option. This is known as the left soft key, LSK. So LSK1, this is LSK1, LSK2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I will click this right soft key. This is on the right side. I'm really sorry for that. RSK, right soft key 1, and then OMDB. I'm always confusing left or right. I don't know why. Anyhow, so OPKC and OMDB you have entered, and just click send. And your message is now sent. Now soon you will receive the weather report, and let's see, an option should come over here, company message, which says you have a message from the company, and then there is this printer in the plane. You can get the weather report printed. I'll just show you how it's done. Company message. So this you can see in the upper ECAM, you can see company message coming up, so you can go to received messages, and you have a weather report station not available. Anyhow, just print it. And I was just showing you this this capability in this new plane. Otherwise we can always tune into ATIS to get the weather report. As you can see over here in the clearance, can I see ATIS? Yes, you can see ATIS. So if you tune into Karachi ATIS, you get the weather report. Anyhow, if you click this paper, it will be just displayed over here. So you should see the weather information over here. I don't know, right now there's some issue for the OPKC. The weather information is not coming but for the OMDB, the weather pressure weather report is here with the atmospheric pressure and everything and the wind speed. So this is a small capability I just wanted to show you that is there in the Airbus A320 by Flybywire Sim. Now let's go back and I'll take you from the beginning. Go to MCDU menu again and go to ATSU. At some point, if you are lost, go to AOC menu again, and from here go to init, press. Now you can see that FMC, flight number, departure, destination, ETE, this is all blank. Now, as I've already made a flight plan in the SimBrief, so this MCDU is connected to SimBrief. If I can click this option, init data request, initiate data request, if I click this, you can see that all the information is updated. The flight number which is there in the SimBrief, you can change this if you want. OPKC is the departure, OMDB is the arrival, and that's it. Now, if you go back and you click this weight and balance, you can see the block fuel, the taxi fuel, and the trip fuel. So everything is there. So right now, how much is the fuel in the plane? It's 9,520. If I click refuel load, you can see now it is set to 7,420. You can see. So the fuel is now adjusted in the plane. Right now what we can do is this. We can call in for the fuel service. And if I go back and if I go to the ground service, and if I call for the fuel service,
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please send a fuel truck?
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320, a fuel truck is on the road.
okay, so fuel truck is also coming, and just to tell you, you can also call in for the fuel from here. By the way, this is the tug for the pushback. Okay, so now this is all done, and now what we can do is this. Now we have to fill in the rest of the information in the MCDU. So for this, now we are not going to this MCDU menu. You don't have to go there anymore. Go to init. Now in it you will see there is a from to and company route, flight number, cost index, cruising altitude and everything. First of all, I will enter the from and to, that is the departure and the arrival airport. So this is OPKC/OMDB. If I click this, so you can see there's nothing showing up over here. The screen comes up, just press return. So you can see this information over here. Okay. Before this, entering this airport, you must have seen that there was again an option coming as init request. If I would have pressed this one, this all page would have been automatically updated from the SimBrief. But now, as I told you before, that I will not use this option. I will be interacting with the MCDU and will be telling you how to enter your flight plan. So that's why I'm not using this option to automatically update the flight plan. I've decided to basically show you how to interact with the MCDU and how to enter your flight plan. Otherwise, if you would have pressed this option, everything would have been automatically updated. So flight number, I will keep it at AA123. I just go with my initials and the flight number. And the cost index, as we have seen before, cost index over here is 42. So cost index is 42. Airlines use the cost index based on the fuel consumption. This number is from 1 to 99. The lower the number, the faster the plane goes. The higher the number, the slower the plane goes. Basically, it is the rate at which the plane will be burning the fuel. Obviously, if you're going at a high speed, you will be burning more fuel. And if you are going at a lower speed, you are burning less fuel. So 42 cost index means that once the autopilot is activated, the plane will not go really fast. It will just try to consume, conserve fuel, and will try to not go for a high speed. Will be at a reasonable speed, so you're not burning too much fuel. As the fueling is not done, you can see this option in the screen. As soon as the fueling is automatically done, you can see the total max takeoff weight and everything. So it is here. You can again adjust the fueling. We are just getting 39% of the fuel. Anyhow, just getting back to the cost index. So this is some science, rocket science. When I started the flight simulators, I couldn't understand. It took me a lot of time to understand the concept of cost index. But anyhow, so let's say if you're using let's say cost index 10, the plane will fly very fast. So it will be burning more fuel. And if you type in 50, it will be going slightly slow and burning less fuel. So every airline has their cost index, which is given to the flight management system, so that once the plane is flying on autopilot, the speed is adjusted in such a way that the fuel is burned according to the cost index of the airline. So right now, as we have a cost index is 42, so I will just put it in here. And the cruising altitude is flight level 360. So what I'll do is this, I will type in FL 360. This is how you're going to give your flight level, the cruising altitude FL 360. And then for the slash, you can just use the slash. That's it. So remember, you have to follow this format. So it's very simple, flight level 360. And the temperature at this cruising altitude, the MCDU will automatically select it. That's minus 51 degrees. If you know that, you can enter it by yourself. Otherwise, minus 51 is here. That's it. Anything else? No. So init is done. And let's go to init B. Just click this option and go to init B. This was init A, and go to init B. Zero fuel weight and zero fuel weight center of gravity. It is automatically calculated. Although the zero fuel weight is given over here, what will be the weight of the plane with zero fuel. So it's including the passengers, the cargo, and plus the weight of the plane. So simply click this and you will see it's 46.3, 25.2. So this is the zero fuel weight center of gravity. The FMS needs this calculation for the flight management. And plus fuel planning, just click this and you will see block confirm. So that's it. So init A and init B is programmed. Just don't get into all this. I don't even know how to do this, as I'm not an actual pilot. I just only do flight simulations. Whatever I know, I do it. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about it, there is documentation available on the flybywiresim.com website. You can just simply go and consult the MCDU documentation, and from there you can get the information. Okay. Now I can go to flight plan, and over here now this is the flight plan page. This is kind of tricky if you're new to the MCDUs and you don't know how to program that. It's kind of difficult, but somehow just keep on practicing it. It takes me also a lot of time practicing, and one time you just get really perfect with this. But just to tell you, as soon as you are OPKC and OMDB, this is your departure and this is your arrival, and just ignore this line. So this is the flight plan. First of all, we have to select the departure. As you can see in the SimBrief, I have selected, just go to edit flight. Let's go back because now it's done. So I will be flying out from 25 left, and my first point or the SID is Melo 1F. So I will just simply go and click here departure, and I will select 25 left, and I will, now you can see in the runway 25 left is selected. Just click this up button, it will just scroll down, and Melo 1F, just select this, and that's it. And transitions, this point is for transitions. In some in many of the airports, especially in Europe and in America, there is a transition, but right now on this route there is no transition, so do I have to worry about that? Otherwise, if there was a transition, you have to enter a transition, but for this flight plan there is no transition. Maybe I will just do another tutorial in which I will tell you how to use the transitions and enter them into the system. So now it's done, and you can simply click insert. Now you can see this thing that there is a departure procedure that's been set into the MCDU. That's OPKC 25 left, and then all the waypoints which you will be taking, and you will go to Melem. As you can see, Melo 1F will take you to Melem. Okay, so Melo 1F has taken you to Melem by following all these waypoints, video, Claylab, and that's it. If you want to see your flight plan visually, you can see it over here in SimBrief, as I told you before. You can do it over here, and you can even go to your plane's navigation display and see whether it's properly updated or not. So go back, and over here ARC mode is selected. Right now you can set it to flight plan mode, and you can see in the navigation display the flight plan is populated up till Melem. So if I keep on pressing this up button, it will take you through the points. Okay. So right now it is showing you that you are going from Karachi to this waypoint, to Melem, and then from Melem straight to OMDB. Right now you can see the procedure for the OMDB is not selected because we have not entered the star. But right now I will not enter the star. I will just populate the rest of the flight plan. Okay, which is all these airways and waypoints. We can do this or we can skip this, totally up to you, but we have to do this. So I will be now entering all the waypoints and the airways. It's very simple to do that. Click Melem, click Airways. Now via. So first after Melem, we will take a airway, that's A454. So I will type in A454. Now I will click via. So this airway is here, and we will go to PASOV, PASOV. Picked up B540 is another airway. Sorry, B540 to MIVEK. I am sorry for using this option of switching back and forth between the SimBrief and this flight simulator. The reason being, I have seen most of the YouTubers, they're doing good videos. I've learned a lot from them, but they just tell us during the flight simulation that I've already prepared a flight plan in the SimBrief, and they just put a screenshot over here. Initially, I remember I was when I was very beginner, when I didn't know basics about the flying and for the flight planning. It was very difficult for me to really understand how they're updating this flight plan, how they're getting the airways and the waypoints. So when I was looking at the SimBrief, it was difficult. But because mostly they were showing this page, which comes here after generating the flight plan. So they were showing this, and I was getting confused that I couldn't see this kind of display. But because once you're new to all this thing, it's very difficult to understand and to read all this and understand what is going on. You can see there's Kupma, and then there's so much coming up. But over here in the SimBrief, if you go back, this view is a very simple view, and it gives you a very nice view. So that's why I keep on switching between SimBrief and what you call this simulation, so that you can understand what's happening. So after Mavic, you can go to P574, and then we'll go to IMPED. That's the last point, IMPED. That's it, and type in insert. Now you can see that all the waypoints and the airways are automatically updated. So that's how you do it. Okay. You can also enter a waypoint directly without entering the airway. Although right now I'm not doing it, I don't want to mess around with this flight plan, but it's very simple. What you have to do is this: if you want to fly directly to a waypoint, or do you want to enter it into this MCDU, you simply type in the waypoint. Let's say if it's whatever, it's all A's, 4 A's, and then you simply click OMDB, this option, and you will see this waypoint automatically getting entered into the system, and then you can click insert over here. So if you want to directly enter it, it's okay. Otherwise, that's the procedure. And if there are certain route after IMPED you want to enter, simply click IMPED and then go to Airways, and then you can also enter via and points if there are further waypoints than this point. So it's easy to do that. Anyhow, this flight plan is simple, and you can easily do that. So now you can see all the waypoints are up. If I go to this flight plan, you will see that it is updated. Let's go back to OPKC just to show you. Okay. And that's it. IMPED. So IMPED was the last point you can see, and then IMPED directly we're going to OMDB. So there is no proper procedure for the arrival. So now we will enter the procedure for the arrival. So click this option, your destination, that is Dubai. Click arrivals, and I am landing at 12 right. This is ILS 12 right. So I will see this runway. I will click this, and you can see the star is IMPE3B. Can you see this? IMPE3B. If you cannot see it, then you can scroll through all the star. Okay. So right now IMPE3B. Just click this option, and that's it. Via redirect, star is there, and plus there is no, what you can say, a transition. So it's okay. Via redirect, this is automatically selected. Don't have to worry about that. Click insert, and that's it. Return. And now just go through the flight plan, and a nice flight plan is updated. That's it. So you can see there's no discontinuity, there's no issue. So flight plan is good. So now the difficult part is up. I'm always not really comfortable with updating the flight plans like this through MCDU. Anyhow, just taken me a lot of time to basically understand the basics, and I've been trying in my videos to basically give all this knowledge to you guys so that you can easily do that. And still, if you got any issues with MCDU, you can always let me know in the comment section. Okay, now once you've done that, now we'll go to the performance side. Now over here you will see this option flaps slash THS. You have to set the flaps and plus the pitch. Now let's go over here. So for the takeoff, I will be using flaps at 2 degrees. So I'll select 2. Just you can see over here. Then slash. I will type in the pitch. The pitch is basically, this is the pitch trimmer. You can trim the pitch of the plane. While flying, the plane's nose is pitched up or pitched down. You can adjust that during the flight. So for the takeoff, you can select the flaps and plus the pitch, so that the flight management system knows what are the flaps and what is the pitch. So according to that, it will select your V1, VR, and V2. Currently, I'll also tell you what is V1, VR, V2. So the pitch is, let's say if I keep it at 0.5, I use this number. You can use 0.2, 0.5 and up, pitch up, because obviously we're taking off. You're not going down. So it's 2/0.5 up. Okay, so this is up. This is a format that you should learn. You can keep flaps 1, 2, 3. 1 or 2 is good, and then slash up 0.5, and that's it. You need the flaps. And flex to temperature. Flex to temperature is basically the plane adjusts the flight management system. You tell the flight management system that what is the outer temperature. So let's say if the outer temperature is 40 degrees, and obviously a certain power is given to the engines, and you give full power to the engines during the takeoff, the engines might get heated up in higher temperatures, let's say 40 degrees or 45 degrees. So in this, you basically calculate flex to temperature. There is a formula given. You can search for the internet to see how to calculate the flex to temperature. There is a formula, you can calculate that, and then you get to the flex to temperature. But somehow this is a temperature that you enter over here, and you always keep it higher than the outside temperature, just to tell the plane that outdoor temperature is let's say 40 degrees or 45 degrees. So according to that, your autopilot system or your flight management system, the FMS, adjusts the thrust of the plane during the takeoff, so that the engines are not overheated. I hope I've explained it to you well. Ignore this error. I don't know, I'm having issues with my internet connection. It just keeps on disconnecting me from the internet. Anyhow, so flex to temperature is basically temperature higher than the actual temperature. So let's say if the outside temperature is 40, you enter 44 or 45 as per the formula, the way you calculate that. I'm not getting into those calculations, very complex. So you just deceive your flight management system. The game servers are currently unreachable. Please check your internet connection. Thank you. Okay, I don't care about that. Just ignore this message. I keep on getting this message. Okay, So let's say if the outside temperature is 40 degrees, you set the flex to temperature at 44 or 45. You tell your flight management system that the outside temperature is really high, and you should adjust the throttle accordingly so that the engines are not overheated. It's very simple. So let's say if the outside temperature is right now, let's say, I'm just giving you an example, it's 36 degrees. And your flex to temperature formula gives you 40. So just enter 40. And that's it. It's very simple. You can always know what is the temperature of the departure airport, and you can always enter it over here. If you want to study further, you can just search it. I have that formula. It's a very long calculation that we have to do. Anyhow, I will just now then go to V1. I will click this option and you will see a V1 speed, 121. I will just enter it over here. VR at 122 and V2 at 126. Now what is V1, VR and V2? These are the speeds at which the VR is the speed at which you will be rotating. You will be pulling back on your stick and will be taking off from the runway. V1 is the decision speed at which during the takeoff, while you are running on the runway, it is the speed at which you can still abort the takeoff and you can stop till the end of the runway. But if you exceed this speed, then it's dangerous to stop and abort the takeoff. And VR is after the V1. VR is the speed at which you rotate. You pull back on your stick and you take the plane up in the air. And V2 is the speed 126 at which the plane can still fly on one engine if there is an engine failure. Great. I've been doing it really well. So V1, V2, VR and V2. This is also displayed over here. Now once you select your V1, VR, V2, so on the PFD, this speed is here. Okay. Transition altitude. Transition altitude is the altitude to basically set your barometric pressure. I will be just going through the basics of the barometric pressure, but anyhow, just remember right now that your transition altitude is 10,000 feet. And thrust reduction. Okay, now some basics of thrust reduction. Right now, this is our throttle and it is at the idle stage. It should be here. Okay. This is the position for the reverse thrust, and this is zero thrust. This is climb, flex and toga. 4 positions for your thrust. Okay, so once I'm just giving you a theoretical thing that once you are going to take off, you will keep your thrust over here full to toga. That's 98% of thrust. After this thrust, you will now not fly on this toga at 98% thrust, because if you're just climbing and cruising at full thrust, your engines will get heated up and they will catch fire. So it's a very short time on which through which you fly on toga at 98% throttle, and then you reduce it to climb. You keep it here. Now this is how much? 90% of thrust or 89% of thrust. Okay, so that's the basic. So while running on the runway for the takeoff, you take off at toga at 98%, and then after a certain time you reduce it to climb. And you do that because engines, if they're running on the full power, obviously they will get heated up and they might catch fire, or there will be an engine failure which is dangerous. So that's why thrust reduction altitude is the altitude at which you reduce your thrust from toga to climb. Now that's it. And let's now keep it here at 0%. We don't want to keep it here. Okay, so that's the basic. So thrust reduction is like this. As now when I will take off, you will see everything. So performance is done. So that's it. This is regarding the MCDU. So we have done all the flight plan is there. We have weight and balance. We have our init A and init B. We have our performance V1, VR, V2, the flaps and everything, and flex temperature, engine out, thrust reduction altitude, transition altitude, everything done. So this was the tough part and the boring part. Now I will just go with the startup and pushback. Now the more interesting part. So this was a theory related to MCDU. You can study it further, as I told you before. You can study it further. if you want. Okay, so here I am now in the cockpit. So right now what I'm going to do is this, that I am going to do some basic checks. I have to check for the flaps. You can see over here the flaps are up. Then speed brake, disarm. Okay, so here is the speed brake. The speed brake is used to basically apply brakes to the plane and the air if you're going too high. So right now they're armed. Just left click and move your mouse up and they will be disarmed. Right, if you go down they're armed, and up they're disarmed, and then you can apply your full brakes if required. I think maybe in this flight I will be using them. I will tell you how to use your flight brakes once we are in the flight. Okay, and windshield de-ice on. Let's see if it is on. This is something really important. This is the button, turn windshield de-ice on. So which means your yeah, it is on. Okay, so it means that once at the cruising altitude and you are going for your descent, you might see some icing on the windshield. So that's why you turn the heat on so that there is no icing on the windshield. This effect is right now I think not there in this plane, but anyhow. Okay, now as now we are going for the pushback, so I will discontinue all the flight services. Jetway disconnection.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320. Could you please disconnect the jetway from the aircraft?
So now the jetway is disconnected and you will see the door is closed. So all the door is closed as you can see on your lower ECAM. Okay. Catering is done, fueling is done, power supply is done. Okay, now we can right now move on to the APU. So now what I'll do is this, I will go to the APU, that is the auxiliary power unit, and turn on APU master switch. I will put on this and I will turn this on. APU switch on, start. And I will wait for this button to show available. Once this shows available, then you can turn on the APU bleed. So let's wait for some time and let's see what happens. Cigarette! Cigarette! Now you can see that available sign is here. It takes some time, less than a minute, but once it's there, then you have to turn on the APU bleed. And now the plane is on APU. Okay. Right now we can disconnect the ground power unit, but before disconnection, let's disconnect the external power. So now, as now the plane is on the auxiliary power unit, we don't need external power. So right now it's on. We can turn it off. So once the external power is off, you can just go here and you can see if the ground service external power, you can just call it off. Okay, or maybe you can also do it from here, which is request power supply end, if this option is showing here. This option was not showing here because I was using the plane's tab for this, and if you go out you can see now this external power unit is disconnected and this van has moved away. So let's get back into the cockpit, and that's it. Very nice. Okay, so let's check if we have the seatbelt sign on, no smoking on, then beacon lights. Okay, we turn on the beacon lights because once the plane is in the parking position, you turn on the beacon lights just to tell everybody that you are going to start the engines. So after the pushback we will be starting the engine. That's why you have to turn on the beacon lights. So beacon lights are important, you have to turn them on. Turn on the nav lights and logo on. Landing lights, we don't need that. Wing lights, we don't need that. Because it's morning, otherwise you can turn on these lights, and that's it. No need for the lights in the morning or in the daytime. Okay. Strobe. Okay, strobe is set to auto. Sorry. Strobe is set to auto. And that's it. I'm actually checking the what you can say, the checklist, if I'm missing anything or not. So that's it. So in this checklist, there are many other things that you will perform before the takeoff. If you want to go through the checklist, it's totally up to you. But these are the basics, which will be more than enough to take your plane from one airport to another, and you will be able to fly your plane easily. So before the pushback, I can release the parking brakes, because if the parking brakes are on, your plane will not move. So that's why release the parking brakes. But before that, let's go for the clearance. I think right now we can get the clearance. Best. Request IFI clearance for instrument flight planning FP. Let's see.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 IFR to Dubai, ready to copy. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 is cleared to Dubai airport as filed. Takeoff runway 25 left, climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure frequency is 126.5/0001.
Read back and acknowledge. Sorry for that. So 10,000 feet. So I will set the altimeter to 10,000.
Airbus 320 rearback is correct. Contact ground on 118.3 when ready to taxi. Good day.
Okay, so right now we have got the clearance for the takeoff. Set the altitude to 10,000. I've not set this altimeter. I will just get back to the basics of this one once the pushback is completed. So now, as we've got the IFR clearance, we can release the parking brakes, and I will go on to the tab, and I will call the tug. As soon as I will call the tug, you will see this tug moving, and it will just go under the plane's nose wheel. Try to grab it so that the pushback can be carried. Really nice. Just love this. Okay. Cockpit. Okay. Now I will go for the back. You press this button, and you will see the plane will start to move back. Okay. Now, as I am flying out from runway 25 left, I will just show you this map. You can turn on the map, and you can just know how to taxi and where to go. So runway 25 left is over here. This is the runway. Okay, this runway is 25 left. So I will after the during the pushback, we will tell the pushback tug to turn us right. It's you are seeing it from the this view. It shows you left, but we talk about from the pilot's perspective. So from the pilot's perspective, it's right. We have to turn right. Okay. And then I am aligned with the taxiway, and then we will move on to this taxiway from here, and then taxi to this point, hold and short over here, and then once we have the clearance for the takeoff, we will move on to runway 25 left and then take off. So this is the basic. So now I will call the tug to turn right. Just press this button, and you will see the plane is moving to the right side. Okay. Once straight, we will stop. What's happening here? Look at this. You never see this in real life, happening in real life. I wish I could see this in real life. Okay. Now I will stop it. We should have been on this line. I'm just trying to master this technique of really knowing when to turn left and right so that we are aligned with this line. We should have been on this line anyhow. It's good, even if we are here. Somehow it's a good thing. And then what we can see, pushback has been stopped, and go to tower. Remember this thing, don't forget to do this, otherwise your tug will not will stop. So you have to call in the ATC and ask for the pushback to stop.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 requesting the end of pushback. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 request to end pushback received.
Okay, so you can see now the tug is moving, and now you can turn off the engines. So to turn on the engines, it's very simple. Just go over here in the lower panel. This is the engine mode selector. Set it to ignition start, and then press on this turn on engine 2 master. First you turn on your engine 2 and then engine 1. So just click this and you will see your engine running. So engine 2 is now up and running. Let's go out external. Let's jump out of the cockpit and oops, I forgot to do one thing. My bad. Oh, fuel pumps are on. I thought I skipped them. Anyhow, let's see if it's... Oh, I'm really sorry for that. Now you can see the engine 2 is running. A little bit of confusion. Anyhow, I turned on the fuel pumps. Okay. But you have to make sure the fuel pumps are also up. Okay. They show the sign off. It means they're on. Okay, no. If they show off, they means they're off. I forgot to turn on the fuel pumps. This is something really important. Don't forget to turn them on. I think I was concentrating more during this tutorial, and I forgot to do that. So with the APU, you basically turn on the fuel pumps, because if your fuel pumps are not on, the plane engines will not start. My bad. Sorry for this. Now you will see that the engines are up. Sorry for this. Actually, there's so many things that you have to cover during the tutorial, you miss few things. Okay, so now you wait for engine 2 to stabilize. It will stabilize. Once this number is stable, the N2%, then it's time to turn on engine 1. And with this, you can lower your flaps by 2, 1 and 2. Set to flaps to position 2. You can see now the flaps are extending. So always remember to turn on the fuel pumps with the APU. So once I was doing the APU, I should have turned on the fuel pumps. Somehow I just skipped it in my checklist. My apologies. Okay. And I will also wait for this engine to stabilize and engine 1 to stabilize. And during this time, what I can do is this. I can go here and I will go back to clearance and I will ask for the taxi.
Karachi ground Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 with Sierra ready to taxi IFR. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 taxi to and hold short of runway 25 left via taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 118.3 when ready.
Acknowledge.
Taxiing hold short runway 25 left using taxiway Alpha Airbus 320.
Okay, so your engines are now stable. Seatbelt signs on, no smoking on, engines are stable. Now it's time to turn off the APU, because we don't need APU. So turn off the APU and the APU bleed, and that's it. So the APU is off and we are ready to taxi. So parking brakes are already released. I didn't apply the parking brakes, but after the pushback you have to turn on the parking brakes anyhow. Just give some throttle and the plane will start to move towards runway 25 left. Let's adjust the view accordingly. You can use the rudder to move the plane. During this tutorial, I'm assuming that you are familiar with the controls, the basic controls of the plane. So I am not going through the configurations and stuff. It was slightly high, the speed, and you could see that the plane was moving very fast. So I had to reduce the throttle for the taxi. It should be 25%. Otherwise, it should be less than 25%, 20-25%, between that, according to it, so that your plane is not going too fast. And if you don't know how to taxi and where to go, as I told you before, you can simply consult the map and you can see now the plane is moving. We will miss the first left turn, and from the next we will just turn left and hold short over here before this runway to get the clearance for the takeoff. Okay, I will just try to follow this yellow line. Okay, now centered. So let's now turn left from here. You will see a straight line, a yellow line, and a dotted line. You can see a dashed line over here. So this is the point where you will stop and ask for the takeoff clearance. Let's go and request takeoff clearance. IFR from Karachi.
Karachi Tower, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 ready for IFR departure runway 25 left. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray 320 altimeter 29.901. Phoneme alphabet equals X Microsoft Tubs PH equals WIHND. Wind /phoneme 23906. Cleared for takeoff runway 25 left.
Okay, now a few basic things I would just like to touch because right now we have got the altimeter to 90.91. What is this? Actually, the plane has got sensors, and those sensors sense. Okay, I will acknowledge that. Thank you very much. The takeoff clearance. Okay. So the plane's sensors basically use barometric pressure to gauge the altitude of the plane. So we have to actually adjust the barometric pressure of the plane so that the plane can actually and accurately calculate the altitude. So right now the barometric pressure at the Karachi airport is 290.91. That is in Q and H. You can also use different units, Q and H. Different units between HPA and in HG. So right now this unit is in HG, 29.91. If I move this, you can see this meter moving over here, the altimeter. So it's 29.91. So you have to adjust your altimeter, barometric pressure, so that you are aligned with the the tower. Otherwise, your altitude will be misreported and will not be properly calculated. So always remember to keep this thing in your mind. And after 18,000 feet, we will set it to standard, and the standard barometric pressure for flying is 29.92. So this is at standard. So we are slightly below standard at this time, and at 18,000 feet I will change it to standard. Okay, so that's the basic. So now as we've got the clearance for the takeoff, so it's time to release the brakes. You can engage the brakes from here, parking brakes, but I didn't do that. Anyhow, I was using the brakes which are configured on my Logitech 3D Extreme stick. As I told you before, that in this tutorial I'm assuming that you are familiar with the basic controls and your controls are properly configured. So I'm not just going through the basics of the controls, that how to engage or disengage your gears or to have a reverse thrust. You can always use some other videos or some documentation for the Microsoft Flight Simulator to see how your controls are configured. But this is how it is. So once aligned with the runway, I will just give full throttle, and at VR I will rotate, and then okay, so that's it, aligned with the runway, 25 left. Let's give power, and here we go. Let's give full throttle. As you can see, the throttle is not getting fully to 100%. Over here on your screen you can see the power, it's slightly less because we are using this feature flex to temp. Okay, over here now you can see this is V1 and VR, so rotate. Sorry, the plane was going slightly right because I was telling you a few things. Now once up from the runway, if you are climbing positively, then press G on your keyboard to get your gears and turn this to arc, and so that you can see. I will turn the ATC to AI now. Okay, now this is, I was overspeeding. I can increase the vertical speed, going at a very high speed. Oops. Now it's reduced the thrust to climb. Okay, and it's time to track the flaps. Overspeeding is control. Okay, as I was also turning on this option, this thing happened, but anyhow, don't mind that. And turn on the autopilot. I'm just turning on the autopilot, and I will set the speed to 230 knots. I will just now give you the basics of what happened right now. Okay, now just left click, and I'm using the mouse, so I will click on my wheel to get this. Now the plane is climbing to 10,000 feet. The speed I've set to 230 knots. Now I will give you the basics. So you can see this that right now the thrust is adjusted to climb. This is the climb. We saw that error because I was flying at I was taking off at a very high, what you can say, full throttle. So that's why this issue happened. Okay, and then you could see those red lines at the beginning. This is the speed I should not be going more than that during the takeoff, because I had flaps at position 2. You can take 1 so that you can go at a high speed. Below 10,000 feet, remember, do not exceed more than 230 knots. As this is a tutorial, and plus I'm focusing on other things, I'm just playing around with different things and talking to you as well. So I might skip few things, but just to tell you. So after the takeoff, you have to actually adjust your vertical speed in such a way that your plane does not exceed 230 knots. Right now you can see over here your vertical speed is 35, which means 3,500 feet per minute. So if you increase your vertical speed, your ground speed is reduced. Obviously, if the plane is climbing up, it cannot go really fast. So you have to basically compensate your speed according to that. So I was also trying to do this and trying to increase the vertical speed or the cruising, what you can say, the climb rate of the plane, so that the speed is under 230. This is one point. Another one, at a certain point, 1500 feet, I was supposed to reduce the climb thrust, but while doing this radio communication thing, I missed 1500, and I think at 2200 I reduced it to the climb thrust. But this was kind of a mishap. I don't want to redo this video because I don't have time for retakes. I have a full-fledged job. I also work. This is the weekend that I get to enjoy myself, and during this weekend I make this video so that I have time for the retake. So I just do it one time. Okay. So now at 10,000 feet, speed is at 230 knots, and let's ask for the increase in the altitude, as climb altitude is 36,000 feet. And I have observed one thing, that if you are doing a manual flight planning, and you are entering into the MCDU directly, somehow the ATC does not tell you to increase your altitude. So I will be asking the ATC for increase in the altitude.
Request flight level 200. Airbus climate, maintain flight level 200.
So I will go to 200 now.
Maintain flight level 200 Airbus.
So once you have selected your altitude, right now you can see the plane is not climbing, but the altitude is coming over here. In order to start the climb again, select this option, what you can say, the altimeter and selector, and then press left and then click on the mouse wheel. It goes back. This is an issue I'm facing. Anyhow, for me it just like zooms out. Many things, many challenges. But this is how you can do that. Okay, so left click and then you can adjust it accordingly. Okay, so now you can see that after clicking with the right mouse button and then pressing on the mouse wheel, the plane has again started to climb to 20,000 feet. As now we are above 10,000 feet, you can increase the speed to 280. I tell you why I'm managing the speed myself. I'll just give you some introduction of that as well, and you will know. Okay, so left click and then click on the wheel on the mouse, and it will zoom out automatically. By the way, a nice view of the cockpit, but you can see now the plane will increase the speed to 280 knots. You can see it over here. So the plane is increasing the speed. Okay. As I was telling you before, that the plane has got, while during the climb, the plane has got two speeds. One is the vertical speed at which it is climbing, and plus also the horizontal speed at which it is going forward. So these two speeds have to be maintained in such a way that the plane is climbing at the given speed. So let's say if you keep your speed at 280 knots, if I keep it at 300, your vertical speed will be less, because obviously plane is also climbing and going forward, so you have to manage it accordingly. So the vertical speed will reduce. So if you want to have a higher climb rate, reduce your speed. If you want to have a smaller climb rate, increase the speed. Very simple. Right now you can see the plane is climbing at 3,600 feet per minute at a lower speed, but if I increase it to 300 or 320, this vertical speed will reduce. So that's why I'm climbing at a very slow speed. That's a slightly slow speed, 280 knots. But I think if I change this mode to the autopilot mode, it will climb, it will go up to 300 if I'm not wrong, based on your cost index, as you remember I told you before. So that's it. So right now the plane is climbing to 20,000 feet, and above 18,000 feet I will change the barometer pressure to standard. Right now let's give the control of the speed to the plane and through the FMS, to the flight management system, as per the information that's entered in the MCDU. So over here I will left click and then I will right click. Then you will see the speed will disappear. You will see dashes and plus a dot. It means now the speed is managed by the autopilot. Right now I'm not managing the speed. As the cost index was low, it was cost index was high, 42. So right now the speed is set to roughly 290. If I would have set my cost index to 20, then the plane would have been going at high speed and burning more fuel. So right now we are going for a slightly more fuel efficient flight, and that's why the cost index was higher. As I told you before, higher the number, the slower the speed. Lower the number, higher the speed. It's inverse. Okay, now the plane is about to level off at 20,000. I'll go to this radio communication once again, and altitude increase to 10,000 more. So right now it's leveling off to 20,000. We will go to 30,000 feet.
Airbus climate, maintain flight level 200, expect flight level 300. Climate, maintain flight level 200, expect flight level 300 Airbus. Airbus climate, maintain flight level 300.
Okay, so now we've got a clearance for 300. Left click and then click on the mouse wheel. So now the plane will climb to 30,000 feet. Okay, so after the takeoff, just giving you a basic, in order to turn on the autopilot, I pressed on this button. Now let's give you the basics of the autopilot. There are two types of modes in autopilot. One is the managed mode and one is the selected mode. What is a selected mode and what is a managed mode? This is now, this altitude is now the selected mode. I am selecting it myself. So now the plane is climbing as per the selected mode. But you can see the heading has got dash and plus a dot, and plus speed has also got 3 dash and plus a dot. So it means they are in the managed mode. So now as per the flight plan and as per the information entered in the MCDU, the MCDU basically programs the flight management system. And flight management system is a feed for the autopilot on which the autopilot manages all your heading, your navigation, plus your speed and plus your altitude. So that's why managed mode is good. Then the autopilot will decide itself how to manage your flight, your navigation, and plus your speed. Right now, but altitude I'm doing it myself. Otherwise, we can also go for a managed mode. So remember, in Airbus A320 there are two modes, selected mode and the managed mode. Right now altitude is selected mode and speed and heading is managed mode. Very simple. So now as we are above 18,000 feet, I will again press on this button with the left click to change the barometric pressure to standard, and press on the mouse wheel I will press and it will move to standard, and you can see standard is coming over here. So now some basics of the primary flight display. You can see thrust climb, you can see OP climb, altitude, and nav. So it means if they're all green and altitude, this you see this display, it means everything is now maintained by the autopilot and we're doing everything as per the autopilot. Okay. So let your plane do all the autopilot do all the calculation and everything. Right now we're climbing to 30,000 feet. I will get a further clearance for 6,000 feet because we will be climbing cruising at 36,000 feet. So I will go for altitude increase to 6,000.
Request flight level 360. Airbus climate maintain flight level 300. Expect flight level 360.
Okay. So now what the tower has given me clearance for 360, but asking me to climb up to flight level 300 and then expect 360. So once I'm at 300, flight level 300, the tower will again ask me to climb up to 36,000 feet. Let's go out and enjoy some view. Enough of the theory. I know if you will be doing this flight for the first time, you will face few issues. If you have any questions, or if you think I've skipped anything and you want me to elaborate, do comment in the comment section and I will tell you about it. But anyhow, during this whole flight, I've been trying to cover all the basics, all the primary things that are required to fly the plane. The flaps are also configured on my Logitech Extreme 3D Stick. So I retracted the flaps using that option, but you can also use your mouse for this. But obviously during the takeoff you cannot just like go with your mouse and then do it like this. Otherwise I use my stick for this. Okay, so now we are climbing up to 30,000 feet and soon we will hear an option to climb up to 36,000 feet. It's roughly a 2 hours and 15 minutes flight. Okay, now the plane is leveling off. Hopefully the tower will tell us to climb further. Okay, so now we've got a clearance for 360 and that's it. Our job is done. Left click and then mouse wheel and the plane will now go with. So if all of these buttons 1, 2, 3 and 4, this is for your vertical speed. Right now the vertical speed is managed by the autopilot, so you don't have to worry about the vertical speed. But all these buttons, they've got 3 positions. One is you pull them out and you push them in. I think while going for the managed, you push these buttons in the real life, and for selected you pull them back. So this is what we are doing right now. So once I click left and press on my mouse wheel, we pull it back. and once I left click and then right click, it pushes it back. Yeah. So once you push, you are flying in the managed mode, and once you pull these buttons out, you are flying in the selected mode. Just simple, some basic things. Still, if you are confused on this, you don't understand, you can ask me anytime in the comment section, but it's very simple. So right now, if let's say if I want to manage the speed myself, I will adjust the speed. Right now you can see the speed is coming in Mach. I will also tell you what is this. So I will set it to 0.7 Mach, and I will left click and then click on the mouse wheel, and now you can see that I am manually adjusting the speed, so it is going down. Okay, and if I left click and then right click, the speed is managed by the autopilot. It's very simple. Now what happens is this, that above 30,000 feet the air is thinner. Okay, so air gets thin. So that's why 100 kilometers, if you're going at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour at the ground, and it is not similar to going at 100 kilometers going up in the air, because let's say if you have given thrust of 50% on the ground, because there is too much wind reduction, friction. So because of the wind, you have to give 50% of throttle to be at 100 kilometers per hour. But maybe once you are above 30,000 feet, in order to go at 100 kilometers per hour, you don't have to have, let's say, full throttle. You must 50% of throttle. Maybe at 40 or 30% of throttle, you can just achieve 100 kilometers per hour, because air is thin and then there is less reduction. So that's why above 30,000 feet, the speed is not actually as per the ground speed. There is a difference. So the difference comes. You can just read the theory on the internet as well. But just to keep it very simple, for this tutorial, above 30,000 feet, you always change your units to Mach. You can see this button over here, and this is the button. If you press, you will see knots, and then you will see Mach. So right now, if I press this, you will see speed. Speed means your speed will be shown in knots, and Mach means your speed will be shown in Machs. Right now, the plane is flying at 0.784 Mach, which is 260 knots. If you remember, before 30,000 feet, the plane was flying at 290 knots, if I don't remember. Yes, if I'm not wrong. The plane was climbing at 290 knots as per the autopilot. So as we were climbing at 290 knots, but after 30,000 feet, the speed is set to 0.7 Mach. So now 290 knots is not the speed of the plane, rather it's 260. So as long as you keep on climbing and you keep on going on a higher altitude, the speed will keep on reducing. But Machs will never change. Mach will always be 0.7. But your ground speed, because this is knots is the speed of the plane below 30,000 feet. So it will keep on reducing. So this is some theoretical thing. You can study it over the internet, but for this tutorial, I'll just try to keep it simple. It also, every time when I'm making a video and trying to explain this concept of Mach and speed, I always get confused and don't find appropriate words to explain it to you. But anyhow, just for your simplicity and for this tutorial, just remember one thing: above 30,000 feet, change your speed to Mach, and your Mach should be between 0.7 and 0.8, and that's it. Because then you will be overspeeding. Right now, if I'll set it to 0.8 Mach or 0.85 Mach, I think we will be overspeeding, because you can see this red mark. We don't have to go higher than this. So it's better to have it between 0.75 and 0.8. Right now it's 0.7. How much is the Mach? Is 0.78. This is how, as per the cost index. So 0.78 is the speed. Let the autopilot decide the speed, and while you are descending, the autopilot will again below 30,000 feet will change the speed from Mach to knots. So that's it. So right now we are going at a cruising altitude, and in the tab you can see the map as well. So on this map, I think my internet is having issues. I'm sorry. I think that's why you cannot see it. Due to the internet issues. I don't know why. My systems are up and running, internet, everything. I don't know. Every time I'm trying to make a video, anything happens. Anyhow, I don't care if I'm disconnected from the internet. So right now we can consult this map, and we can see where we are flying, and you can see We have crossed this point Melham, and now we're going to also crossing Punal, and now moving to Parrot, and then after this there is a long way to go. I think some 1.5 more hours to go in this flight. That's it. Now I will wait for the tower to give me the clearance to descend, and once descent clearance is given, then I will start my descent, and then I will tell you how to manage your descent, and then perform an ILS approach, and then land your plane. So anytime soon I will be hearing some communication from the ATC to start the descent, and then we will start the descent. So this is a lovely view of the cockpit that I was enjoying right now. Very nice. Let's jump out of the plane and look at some of the sceneries outside. Nice view. Let's move on to this view where we can change the cameras. Flying in the Gulf. Amazing view, amazing plane. By far, I found this plane to be really nice. This Airbus A320 Neo by Flybywire. It's a nice plane. I've been flying planes in X-Plane 11 and Microsoft Flight Simulator, and honestly speaking, I have enjoyed this plane much more than the other planes. The only issue in Microsoft Flight Simulator is the calculation of the top of descent. Unfortunately, I don't know. There is some issue in these planes that no matter what you do, you don't get the top of descent indication in the ND or the navigation display. Top of descent is actually the point from where you start your descent. And if you are familiar with X-Plane 11, you will be knowing that in X-Plane 11 you will see the top of descent if you are flying the Flight Factor A320 or while flying 737. In the progress you will see the top of descent over here. Obviously in this MCDU the top of descent is not shown over here. The top of descent indication comes over here as a green arrow, which tells you that from this point you have to start your descent. If you want to manually know what is your top of descent, the point from where you will start the descent, you can just go and refer to the flight plan, and from here you can somehow get a rough idea of the top of descent. So this point, MIVEK, you should be at flight level 360, that's 36,000 feet. And at DB 520 you should be at flight level 110, that's 11,000 feet. So this can give you a good idea that after MIVEK you have to start your descent. You can descend to flight level 110. If I look at the screen, MIVEK, so this is MIVEK, and the next waypoint is DB 520. Can we see 520? No, we cannot. It must be somewhere here. Or another way is to turn on the constraints, and once you turn on the constraints on the navigation display, you will see that DB 520 flight level 110, and plus this is showing you all the constraints at different waypoints. So this is also a good way to guess. So let's say if after MIVEK, if I'm flying at 36,000 feet, I have to descend to 11,000, and or maybe some point earlier, because if I start my descent at MIVEK, I think it's a very short distance, not a big distance to reduce the altitude. And plus every waypoint, once you turn on the constraints, it's also showing you the speed at which you should be at different waypoints, so the altitude and the speed. So let's say at this waypoint you should be at 8,000 feet and your speed should be 210 knots. Okay, so it's a good idea. But in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, the ATC carries out all the communication, and it tells you when to start the descent. I will wait for that. If I don't hear this communication, then I think I have to take the matters into my own hands. I have figured out one thing, that every time while flying this flight path and entering the flight path into the MCDU the way I've done it before. The top of descent is not announced by the ATC, and doesn't tell me when to decrease my altitude. So I will wait for some time, and then I can start the descent. Over here in this tab, you can also see then when you should start your descent. So if you click this sync, it means your altitude is synced with the current altitude of the MCDU. That's 36,000 feet, and your target altitude should be 3,000. So you should descend to 3,000. So you should be, and your descent angle is -3 degrees. So before the destination, you have to start your descent at 104 nautical miles before the airport. So this is it. So if you look at the ending, you see these circles. These are basically the circles for the distance. So in the so while looking at the navigation display, which is over here, you will see these circles. This is basically the distance. Okay, now I have got an instruction to contact the Emirates Center, and once we contact the Emirates Center, because right now there is a handoff going on between Muscat and Emirates, I think afterwards I will be getting instructions for the descent. Okay, so the tower is asking me to continue. Okay, now the descent have started, because right now you can see that if I increase the distance, you can see the runway is within the 80 knots of the distance. This is 80 knots, and this is 120 knots, you can see, and this is 80 nautical miles. Sorry, not knots, nautical miles. So this is the 80 nautical miles, this circle, and this is the 120. So this is very simple. So you can see that we got the announcement to descend, or the instructions to descend, 22,000. That's flight level 220. If I'm not wrong, let's cross check once again. 220. Okay, so once I've adjusted the altitude over here, I will left click and then press on the mouse wheel. It will zoom out. I don't know why this thing happens. Anyhow, this is very annoying. I think I should find another way to do that, to change the controls. I am not really getting enough time to research into all these things, because as I told you before, I am short on time. The weekends are the only time when I can make these videos and upload, and you must have observed that for a very long time, at least for the last 2 weeks, I haven't done any video. There were some issues with this plane as well after the update. Anyhow, Flybywire Sim updated this plane, and I installed this update I think 3 or 4 days back. Then I've been practicing it a lot, because obviously in order to make a video I have to make myself familiar with the plane and all the controls and how it's behaving in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that's more important. So right now we're descending to 22,000 feet, and I think we are in the vicinity of Dubai. No, not now. Crossing over Oman, but soon we'll be in Dubai. Okay. Now my internet is also working. Initially there was some issue with the internet, so my internet is also working, and you can see it on the map over here. You can interact with this map. So instead of opening the map from there, you can just like see it. And we'll go straight and then come back from the sea and then land. Now the speed is in the managed mode. I am letting the autopilot decide the speed itself, and I'm not interacting with the speed. Now the altimeter is set to standard, and below 18,000 feet I will change it to I will like enter the barometric pressure. If I get it from the Emirates Center, can I tune into ATIS right now? No, I cannot. Okay, we can see it from here, from the weather report. It's very bright. Cannot read it. Okay, can I check it from here? If I go to this option, and if I go to ATSU, and if I go to AOC menu and weather, no, I have to go back and yes, message meta, and it's ECAM and engine system. If I change my view, can I just read it? It's because of the sunlight I cannot see it. No, I can. Yes, it is 1014. You can see, and this is given in HPA. So we can set it to 1014, or we can wait for the tower to tell us. Okay. Oops. Nice view, by the way. If you're a tall person standing in the cockpit, I think you'll see the cockpit like this. But I think your head will be bumping over here. Okay. Okay, so now we have the clearance for 3,000 feet. So I will descend to now 3,000 feet. Left click and then click on the mouse wheel button. It's set to 33,000 feet. No, not 33,000 feet. 3,000. Okay. That's it. So 3,000 feet. So you can now see that over here in the PFD you can see flight level 030. So we will descend to 3,000, and the speed should not be more than 185 knots, if I'm not wrong. So let's reduce the speed, and let's see if I take the flaps right now. What will happen? No, not at this moment. Okay, let's reduce the speed to, first of all, 200, and then I will reduce it to, let's reduce it to 180. Let's see what happens. Will there be any impact on the decline and the descent rate? The descent is at right now 29, which is 2,900 feet per minute. If I set the speed, left click and then click on the mouse wheel, set to 200. So anyhow, let's first of all decrease the speed to 270. You can see the vertical speed is now decreasing. It's coming to 0 because the speed of the plane has to be reduced. I can use air brakes right now. No, they are. I can just let's not do it from the mouse. Let's use my stick. I've got one button configured for the air brakes. Now I've applied the air brakes, and you can see the speed is reducing. Let's go out and let's see what happens. So you can see the air brakes being applied. You see these flaps coming up, these parts of the wing. This is air brakes. So once the brakes are up, the plane is reducing. You can see the drastic reduction in the speed. And with this, I can take the flaps, and the flap settings are given here. At 230 knots, you can take one flap. So below 230, I will get one flap. Now, right now, vertical speed is 600 feet per minute. We should be descending at a higher rate because anyhow, once the speed is reduced, I can take the flaps. So you can see with the flaps, you have a speed limit of 230. Now, suddenly the vertical speed will increase, and I think now the vertical speed will be more than 3,000 feet per minute because we're going at a slow speed. So at a slow speed, the plane can and let's now disengage the air brakes. I don't need them anymore. Press on the stick button and the air brakes will be released. Okay. Let's reduce the speed further to 185.
Tower on 119.05 Airbus. Dubai Tower Airbus 15 miles east inbound ILS runway 30 right.
Now let's take more flaps. We have an error for the airspeed, I know, because it's at 200 feet knots. I should take 2 flaps. Okay. So let's.
30 right approach Airbus.
So we have a clearance for the 30 right.
Sky Dubai 338, follow the generic on final. Wind 340 at 10.
Can I will not change it. Okay, I can change the runway from here, from this what you can say over here. But what I'll do is this, from the tower, I will
330 right. Sky Dubai 338.
cancel IFR.
Dubai Tower Airbus would like to cancel IFR.
Because right now I've got clearance for the 30 right. I can change it from the flight planning, and I can change the runway to 30 right. But right now I am heading towards runway 12 right.
Airbus number 2 for landing. Follow the generic on final. Wind 340 at 10. Clear touch and go left traffic runway 30 right.
Clear touch and go runway 30 right number 2 Airbus.
Cancel landing
Dubai Tower
intentions.
Airbus cancel landing intention.
Airbus, your cancellation is received.
Okay. Very good. We don't need that anymore. I should be landing at 12 left, 12 right. But it was giving me clearance for 30 right. I can change it right now. Oh, you can see the airport. I have seen this view in real life once I was landing in Dubai, coming from Riyadh, back in 2019. Yes, during summers. And the plane was coming from this direction. And we were coming from here, and then the plane was landing at 30 left. Or I think it was 30 right. So this video is also there on my YouTube channel. You can just go and watch that. Okay, so right now the speed is under control. It's at 185. I will reduce it further to 180. Descent rate is good. We have some distance to cover. I think I should be at 3,000 feet before the approach. And can I take full flaps? No. 3. Okay, let's reduce it further to 170. Because full flaps is 177 knots. I will keep it at 170 and I will take the full flaps. So now we have full flaps and 13,000 feet. I'm just reducing the speed so that I have a higher descent rate, so that we are at 3,000 feet before the descent. I've cancelled this IFR tracking. I don't want that anymore. So that's it, because 30 right, I could have changed it as I told you before, but this for this video, as it's a tutorial, I just wanted to tell you that if you make a flight plan, how you will land it. Otherwise, from Imped we can go to the flight plan, and over here we can change the destination, and this whole flight plan will change, and then the plane will try to land at 30 right. Anyhow, for this video, I'll just keep it at 12 right. But if you face this issue, once you're flying, you can always change your runway by changing the destination, as I told you before. So let's jump out and see what's the view of Dubai right now. Although it's evening in Dubai right now. And this approach, I have experienced this approach. I was coming from Pakistan. It was a flight from Islamabad to Dubai, Emirates 777-300ER. It was an early morning landing in November. So it was the same approach. Landed at 12 right, exactly. So a nice view. If we want to see this view, I don't know why it's showing the inverted. You cannot even change the view. Anyhow, this is the view that you're getting right now. So you can see Dubai, and on the right side on your screen you will also see Burj Khalifa. Nice view. Let's go back. Cockpit. And here I am at 8,000. Oh, had to change the barometer pressures from standard to QNH 29. Did we get the altimeter? So it was, let's change it to unit 1014. It was, if I'm not wrong, it was 1014. We'll go here and ATSU, received messages, AOC menu, received messages, meta 1014. Okay. So it is 1014. Anyhow, the ATC is not tracking our flight. That's why it doesn't make any difference. But still, you can see this error coming up. Standard was blinking. It means you have to change your barometric pressure from standard to the given either it's HPA or in HG. So 6,800 and still some distance to cover. So we are good. Full flaps are there. Although I should have taken the full flaps up to 5,000. Anyhow, I just wanted to increase the descent rate so that at this point in time I'm over here. When I reach here, when I'm aligned with the runway, I'm not at a higher altitude. It's better to be at a low one rather than higher, because if you are at a higher altitude, obviously you'll try to reduce your altitude, and in this case it will be difficult to control your speed. If you're at a lower altitude, it's okay. So I always prefer to be at a lower altitude rather than a higher one. Number one. Number two is a concept of a glide slope. I'll just try to draw it on the screen using the mouse. Glide slope basically is the angle or your plane takes in order to touch down on the runway. And this glide slope is starts at Dubai. I think it starts at 3,000 feet. You can refer to the airport charts if you want, and from there you can see that at what altitude you should be catching the glide slope for this what you call for the ILS approach. But I think at Dubai it's 3,000 feet. So at 3,000 feet, if you imagine this point on the screen as shown by the mouse, so you your angle is -3 degrees, so you're going down like this, and eventually you touch the runway at the right point if you're following the glide slope at the right point. If you are above, obviously you will overshoot, and if you are below and your angle is more, you will crash before the runway. So you have to be at the required altitude in order to catch the glide slope so that you can turn on the ILS. In order to turn on the ILS in Airbus A320, you should use this button, ILS Approach button, which shows LS, or ILS is Instrument Landing System. So you can turn the ILS on. I will turn it on once we are aligned with the runway over here on this point. Oh, okay, what I'll do is just right now, I will change this radio frequency to any other frequency. Let's say 124, and I will just click this 120. Can I do that? 125. It should let me do. Okay, if I change to VHF2, let's see what happens. I should not be hearing this communication anymore. Okay. So you can try it on your own, and you can see how it works. Adjusting the view properly so that I can see the runway from the good distance. I think I have a proper view. And just 2 more left turns, and then we are aligned with the runway. Speed is 170. Once aligned with the runway, I will reduce the speed to 150 knots. And that's it. Full flaps. It's going to be a full flap landing. I shouldn't have been taking full flaps right now, just before the runway. But anyhow, as I told you before, that I was trying to reduce the speed to a great extent so that the rate of climb is good, so that I am below the given altitude at a certain point, because as I told you before, in order to catch the glide slope, it's better to be at a lower altitude rather than at a higher one, because if you are coming high, it will be very difficult to control the speed, and your landing can be a disaster. So if you're at a lower altitude, it's good. Okay, so this turn and then another turn. Let's move on to the external view, and you can see now the plane is turning left and trying to align itself with the runway. This is the way, you can see it here. And then there will be another left turn.
Dubai approach, Arabia 134 is passing 9,400 feet, descending 4,100 feet.
Arabia 1156, please expedite your climb 7,600 feet.
Now I'm at VHF3. I should stop hating this communication. Somehow I'm unable to do this. I've never done it. I've been configuring these radio controls, but right now I don't know. Not been able to change the frequency. You can switch to your ILS frequency. ILS is a radio frequency that the plane uses to anyhow. Now you can see the plane is now nearing the runway, and it is aligned with the runway with a slight adjustment, and then we are on the right side. Yes, you can see the 12 degrees. You can see that, as this is runway 12 right, so that's why it is at 12 degrees. Great. Now I can press this LS button, and you can see that plane is slightly off from the course. There are two diamonds, one vertical, another one horizontal. So for horizontal alignment, your diamond should be over here in this middle, and for vertical alignment, your diamond should be here. So right now I think the plane is trying to align itself with the runway 12 right. It should align over. This diamond should be here in the center. Okay. As now I'm at a slightly higher altitude than the given point, so that's why this diamond is up. If I was coming really high, let's say if I was at 6,000 or 7,000, this diamond would be over here. So if you are seeing this diamond above this yellow line, it means you are at a lower altitude and you are safe. And at certain point in time over here, between the runway, this diamond will come in the middle. So it means you can then start your ILS approach, and you can start the descent. So right now you can see that the autopilot has automatically adjusted itself with the runway, and now we are horizontally aligned with the runway. Now for the glide slope to catch, so let's wait for this diamond to come here in the middle, and then you will see this button approach. I will press this button approach, and the plane will start to descend. So let's reduce the speed to 160. At lower speed with full flaps, it's easy to control the plane. With the flaps, you get not only the additional lift, but it also creates a drag, which helps the plane to reduce the speed. And obviously at lower speeds you need additional lift. That's why the wingspan increases with this with these flaps, and you get an additional lift at the lower speeds. So the airport and the runway is just right in front of you. This diamond is coming in the middle. As soon as it's in the middle, I will press approach. The plane will catch the glide slope, and then it will automatically start its descent towards the runway. And here it's coming. You can see now. Here, approach. And as soon as I hit the approach button, you can see the plane has started to descend. It means the plane is trying to catch, not only trying to catch, but rather it's trying to follow or following the glide slope. And eventually at a certain point, we will be at the point. We will touch the runway at a nice point, 150. I'm further reducing the speed. Below 2,000 feet, I will get the gears. Or let's get the gears at 2,500. Okay, it's time to lower the gears. One more thing before the landing. Yeah, this anti-skid option should be on, and plus your auto brake should be set to maximum. Anyhow, right now I cannot select maximum, so that's why I always select medium. So auto brakes are set to medium and anti-skid is on. So this is the runway. This is 12 left and this is 12 right, and these are the terminals. We will be parking over here after the landing. So everything is looking good now so far. So let's go out and have a quick look. The gears are down, the flaps are full, and coming in straight. Good. If I want to have this view. Nice view, by the way. Let's go into the cockpit and I will be disengaging the autopilot, I think, when I'm near the runway. This thing, I don't know why it happens. The scenery is getting refreshed. Anyhow. (1,200) 1,200 feet, 1,100 feet from the ground. Speed is at 150 knots. Everything is good. Full flaps. Speed set to medium. Anti-skid on. Gears down. Everything is looking good. I'm very bad at landings, and I hope today it's a good and a nice landing. My first ever landing in Dubai was in Airbus A320 by Airblue. It was a direct flight from Pakistan to Dubai. So I will now disengage the autopilot, and I will now try to land the plane manually. Slightly, I will pitch up. You can see I'm trying to keep this diamond in the middle by pulling back and pushing down on the stick. Slightly off from the runway, which I should have been in the middle. I don't know why this thing happens every time when I'm trying to land. Anyhow, just fixed my alignment. Oops. I hope today there's no disaster. I'm always trying to perfect my landings in the Microsoft Flight Simulator.
30, 20, retard, 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 retard,
Slight jerk, but a slight
retard.
smooth landing. Now I'll just activate the reverse thrust. Oops, there was a plane on the runway. That's why you should have got clearance from the tower. It's Airbus A380. Okay, I will just try to turn left way before right. Okay, so there was no collision. Avoid the collision anyhow. So that's how you land the plane. Oh, I've done it. Okay, so I have exited the runway earlier because I didn't want to hit this Airbus A380. So that's it. Now it's time to get back the flaps. We don't need flaps anymore. So I have retracted the flaps and everything is good. I'm in the cargo area of the airport. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching this video. And if you have any questions, do let me know. I keep on making different videos. So do subscribe to my channel and you will stay updated with that. I will right now not complete the taxi towards the gate, but if you want to do it on your leisure time and if you have time, you can do that. Anyhow, again, thank you very much for staying with me and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hope to see you soon.